You think your local parking tickets are harsh? Wait until you hear about the most inhumane laws that still exist in 2025. Some of these punishments are so cruel they'll make you appreciate living in a country where the worst thing that happens is fine for jaywalking. Right now, as I'm recording this video, there are countries where speaking your mind can get you killed, where loving the wrong person means death, where stealing bread to feed your family results in having your hand cut off. And here's the thing, these aren't ancient laws from history books. These are happening today in our modern world. Let's start with the death penalty, because when we talk about inhumane laws, execution methods top the list. China leads the world in executions, but they classify the numbers as state secrets. Iran, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Yemen round out the top 5 countries for recorded executions in 2024. But it's not just that they execute people, it's how they do it. Stoning is still legal in several countries, and that's exactly what it sounds like. A person is buried up to their chest or neck and then pelted with rocks until they die. The UN Human Rights Committee has specifically called stoning particularly cruel and inhumane. But that hasn't stopped countries from using it. In Afghanistan, the Taliban brought back public stoning for adultery. Their leader actually said in 2024 that the West can call it a violation of human rights, but he represents God while Western democracies represent Satan. That's a direct quote. So if you're married and have an affair in Afghanistan, you could face death by stoning in front of a crowd. But adultery laws get even more twisted. In some countries, the punishment depends on whether you're married or single. Married people get stoned to death. Single people get 100 lashes and a year in exile, because apparently being single makes your crime less serious. Then there are blasphemy laws. Pakistan has some of the strictest blasphemy laws in the world. You can get life in prison or death for insulting Islam, the Prophet Muhammad, or even damaging the Quran. And here's what makes it worse. The accusation alone can get you killed by vigilante mobs before you ever see a courtroom. But even supposedly progressive countries have blasphemy laws. Finland still has them on the books. You can face 6 months in prison for blasphemy. An artist named Haro Koskinen was prosecuted in 1969 for his artwork that someone found religiously offensive. Let's talk about theft punishments that would make medieval times blush. In Saudi Arabia, theft can result in amputation. Your hand gets cut off for stealing. They use this punishment for repeat offenders or significant thefts. And yes, this still happens in 2025. Some countries take family honor so seriously that they've legalized murder. Honor-killing laws exist in several nations where family members can literally get away with murder if they claim the victim brought shame to the family. Jordan only recently changed their laws, but other countries still allow reduced sentences for honor killings. Child marriage is legal in many countries with no minimum age restrictions. In Yemen, there's no minimum age for marriage at all. Girls as young as 8 or 9 get married off to adult men, and it's completely legal. When these children try to escape or refuse, they face punishment for disobeying their husbands or families. Women's rights violations are written into law in multiple countries. In Afghanistan, women can't work, go to school, or even leave their homes without a male guardian. They can't speak in a public or show their faces. Breaking these laws results in public flogging or imprisonment. Same-sex relationships are punishable by death in at least 7 countries. In Iran, being gay is a capital offense. In Saudi Arabia, it's execution. In Afghanistan, the Taliban brought back death penalties for homosexuality. These aren't just laws on paper. People are actually executed for who they love. Religious conversion laws in some countries make it illegal to change your religion. In Afghanistan, converting from Islam to another religion is punishable by death. Even in countries that don't execute converts, they face imprisonment, loss of custody of their children, and social ostracism backed by law. Then we have debt imprisonment laws that create modern slavery. In several countries, people can be jailed indefinitely for unpaid debts. Their families often have to work to pay off the debt, creating generational bondage. The UAE only recently changed their debt imprisonment laws, but others still maintain them. Drug laws reach absurd levels of cruelty in some nations. Singapore has mandatory death penalties for drug trafficking, even for relatively small amounts. Malaysia executes drug dealers. In the Philippines, extrajudicial killings of suspected drug users and dealers are unofficially sanctioned by the government. Apostasy laws make it illegal to leave your religion. In Sudan, apostasy apostasy is punishable by death. In Malaysia, Muslims who try to convert face imprisonment and forced rehabilitation. These laws trap people in religions they no longer believe in, under threat of death or imprisonment. Mandatory military service laws in some countries force people into armies they morally oppose. In Eritrea, military service is indefinite and essentially amounts to slavery. People are forced to serve for decades with no pay and no way out. Desertion is punishable by imprisonment or death. Censorship laws in authoritarian countries make free speech impossible. In North Korea, criticizing the government or its leaders is punishable by death or imprisonment in labor camps. In China, discussing certain political topics can result in years in prison. These laws effectively make thinking a crime. Child labor laws in some countries allow or ignore the exploitation of children. While most countries have laws against child labor, enforcement is so poor that millions of children work in dangerous conditions. In some cases, families are legally allowed to send children to work to pay off debts. Here's what makes all of these laws particularly cruel. They often target the most vulnerable people in society. Women, children, religious minorities, and the poor bear the brunt of these punishments. The wealthy and connected usually find ways around these laws, while regular people suffer the full force of state cruelty. And these aren't just relics of the past that nobody enforces anymore. Amnesty International reported that recorded executions hit their highest numbers since 2015. That means more people are being executed now than in recent years. The cruelty is getting worse, not better. The international community tries to pressure countries to change these laws, but progress is slow. Economic sanctions, diplomatic pressure, and public shaming sometimes work, but many countries simply don't care about international opinion. What's even more disturbing is how these laws spread. When one country implements harsh punishments, neighboring countries sometimes follow suit. It's like a race to the bottom in terms of human rights. Some of these laws exist because of religious fundamentalism. Others come from authoritarian governments trying to control their populations through fear, and some are just holdovers from colonial or traditional legal systems that never got reformed. But here's what gives me hope. People are fighting back. Human rights activists in these countries risk their lives to document abuses and push for change. International organizations keep pressure on governments, and sometimes change actually happens. Jordan reformed their honor-killing laws. Tunisia abolished the death penalty. Ireland repealed their blasphemy laws. Change is possible, but it takes time and tremendous courage from people living under these systems. The most important thing we can do is not forget that these laws exist. When we complain about our legal systems, and we should when they're unfair, we also need to remember that millions of people live under laws that would horrify us. These inhumane laws remind us why constitutional protections matter, why due process matters, why human rights aren't just nice ideas, but necessary protections against government cruelty. Every time you speak freely, practice your religion, or love who you choose, remember that there are people in this world who could die for doing the same thing, and that's not acceptable in any century, let alone the 21st. Thanks for joining us today at Due Process Daily. Throw us a like and consider subscribing to the channel to help us grow.